Good morning, folks. Or afternoon if you're across the pond. I'm Sinus, and we are currently 20 minutes in to the SMZ3 1v1 tournament in a race of bracket P between Osse101 and mDiyo. And currently, mDiyo having a slight lead, having just picked up the Moon Pearl here from the Morph Ball pedestal. That Morph Ball pedestal has been popular this week. Only 5 power bombs, though. Got to be careful. And what Osse is looking for right now is the... Oh, it looks like they're farming up. And a hook shot for mDiyo. But Osse's farming up for Zora, it looks like to me. Which is good, because Osse needs to make their way to the Zora ledge with their flippers in order to pick up the Pegasus boots, which will take him to the Morph Ball and the rest of the seed. And it looks like we're going to pause the restream for just a moment. We had a desync at the beginning of the race here, so we're going to catch up mDiyo's stream real quick. And oh no, mDiyo having to reset there. I don't think that they were trapped, actually. They had a way out. Maybe just don't know about the little escape that you can do out of Billy May's room there. You do need a power bomb to break the block at the top, but there is a crumble block that will let you out on the right side if you jump on it. So while mDiyo retraces their steps and we catch them up to Osse, I'd like to plug our sponsor, Rank 1 Gaming, that has sponsored the tournament and supplied cash prizes for the top 4 places of the tournament. Rank 1 Gaming, check them out. Kind of like a social media just for gamers. See what all the tournament participants are playing and check out the tournament itself there. And mDiyo going to scout the back here of Gauntlet and find nothing of value. Unfortunately, didn't pick up those power bombs, but going to be able to refill at Edakun's pretty handily. Osse now going to opt for this 100 rupee prize at the end of the race. And going to use that for Zora money. Houlihan would have been another nice option for Osse that might have taken less time than the farming in the race game. mDiyo with a nice mock ball to check out the Brinstar Reserve area. And there's an ice beam for their trouble. And Osse, 500 rupees in hand, is now going to make the play up to Zora's area. What did you miss thus far? Well, it's been kind of a weird one so far. We've had a lot of scoutable swords locations. So one was on the library and one was on the desert ledge. Um, Ossie's about to see the boots here, and both players picking up the flippers quite early, but unfortunately Ossie noped out of Zora's domain checks after checking Waterfall because he didn't have enough rupees. A flute for mDiyo. And is now, with rupees in hand, decided to come back and wrap these two checks in together. Good from an efficiency standpoint, but it's unfortunately let mDiyo run away with a little bit of a lead here at the beginning, having had earlier access to those boots. And mDiyo up to 10 power bombs is going to have a much more comfy time making their way through Super Metroid now. Still not ideal. I'm pretty sure, in fact I know, 15 power bombs is pretty much the ideal number for Brinstar. And Ossie gonna pick up those boots and immediately read that as a Bonk Rocks play, because he has done nearly everything else in logic, the only exception being the Morph Ball pedestal, which is in fact the Moon Pearl. So there's Ossie's Morph Ball, locked behind the boots, locked behind the flippers. And Ossie, having seen that second sword and now having the boots, is going to check Lumberjack and see if Aghanim is required. A lot of good players will tend not to check Lumberjack until Aghanim is in logic. mDiyo with a Spore Skip. And Ossie gonna check that Lumberjack, save and quit, and immediately hit the soft reset. In SMZ3, your soft reset takes you back to the ship, so as long as you have a save, you'll retain all of your items. And Ossie, already having 10 power bombs, is going to opt for Gauntlet immediately, which is in logic with his current item set. Remembers to turn on Plasma pretty quickly. And no wave skip today because we have Wave Beam. Kind of increases the likelihood that we'll find something here. Unfortunately, only super missiles. Now, with Varia being in logic very early on, it's entirely possible that we could be looking at a very early Crocomire play. Very unusual to see Wave this early. Ossie's probably, at least in the back of his mind, thinking, or when he finds the Wave Beam, maybe thinking the Croc play. And mDiyo gonna loop around and make this check. Ossie going to find not a whole lot in Gauntlet, unfortunately. Gonna check Terminator. And Ossie gonna do the Bryn loop play. No reason not to. And mDiyo, speaking of Charge Beam, there it is in the vanilla location. So that is a monster beam combo available to mDiyo very early on in the game. Ossie picking up their Ice Beam. And mDiyo opting not to check the Green Hill Zone location before heading in here in a very perilous spot, because those giant Sidehoppers do 80 damage to Power Suit Samus. Gonna get the beeping sound saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't mess with Sidehoppers. but now having enough power bombs to, for certain, make it up and grab that hook shot at Billy May's room. Osse going to get a comfy 15 power bombs as well. And with that various suit, going to take less environmental damage and going to be taking advantage of some damage boosts on their way through this room. mDiyo with a swaggy mock ball on the invisible bridge. Picking up that hook shot. And again, taking a bunch of damage from that boulder. And Osse gonna refill on power bombs here early on. This is not a room you see very often in Randomizer, but going to secure 15 power bombs and know that they don't have to refill anywhere else in the Brinstar area. And a nice mock ball strategy through that room. Very efficient, just like you would expect from Osse. Man, Side Hopper's taking another huge chunk out of mDiyo, playing super, super aggressive here. And gonna find an E-tank and get bailed out. Very nice. The Rando Gods giveth, the Rando Gods taketh away. Oh, gonna miss that mock ball, but realizes it just in time. And not gonna fall on the crumble bridge. Osse with their spore skip. Does it handily. Now, Osse, not having checked the final missile location, is not going to have wave beam and not going to have the information that the wave gate area here is in fact in logic, but that's going to be no problem for Osse. Gonna pull off a wave gate glitch for us, which is a really neat piece of tech. Essentially, you are getting a super missile on the other side of the gate without it actually being spawned on your screen yet. Misses the first one, very close. There it is. Heard it open up. Gonna get super missiles for their trouble. Meanwhile, mDiyo is headed into the Kraid area. Unfortunately, has 0 power bombs, so not going to be able to pick up that grapple beam yet. That grapple beam is going to put the X-ray location in logic, as well as wreck ship for our runners. Gonna go on to Kraid and hopefully get some power bomb drops. Speaking of power bomb drops, I think Osse just murdered a flying enemy, and another one, 2 in a row. Holy smokes, that's a 2% drop chance on those power bombs, and he just got 2 of them back to back, I think. And mDiyo gonna opt for charge strats on Kraid here. Not gonna take too much at all with charge, plasma wave, ice. Although Kraid is stubbornly not opening their mouth. And I'm interested to see how Osse routes this. So with the flute in hand, there is definitely a play to be made to Death Mountain with the hook shot, and there could be quite a bit of value there. And so we'll see if after Retro Bryn, Osse opts to head back into A Link to the Past rather than working their way through Super Metroid as mDiyo has. mDiyo picking up some power bombs from Kraid is going to be able to pick up that grapple beam now. Going to be happy about that. And a Key Hunter dropping a power bomb for them as well. And there's the Fire Rod locked behind Kraid, a nice find for mDiyo. We don't have full information on whether Fire Rod is going to be required or not, but definitely useful as a fire source, going to let them do a lot of things out of logic, possibly in dark rooms, with a lot greater ease. Osse going to go mDiyo going to go down and check these high jump boots locations. So far, a whole lot of nothing. And Osse going to scorn the Shaft Supers location. Gonna, without the speed booster, just not even gonna bother checking that. Osse probably thinking, I'll worry about that if and when I get the speed booster. And now Osse gonna make their check that leads them to the wave beam. mDiyo taking the portal back to A Link to the Past, gonna go and rescue the old man and unlock that save and quit starting location. Very wise play. Osse heading down to bomb Terizo, not gonna find anything there. We'll see what where Osse goes next. mDiyo coming out on the other side of that dark room very easily, very handily. Probably one of the first dark rooms most people learn. That and Eastern Palace. Osse heading back towards the ship, wondering if he's thinking about going down Red Tower. Or if he is going to break into Wreck Ship with a continuous wall jump. Checking the moat item, and looking like setting up for a CWJ. And unfortunately, that item can cause some pretty significant timing issues on the CWJ, but it looked like a good setup. Yep, another good setup. Got the height and distance they needed, just that last button press, putting it a little out of reach. There we go, nice CWJ by Osse. Meanwhile, mDiyo following the logic of that hookshot and going to go and check Paradox Cave, a very item-dense location. Osse being rewarded for that sequence break with a glove. So very nice find. And Osse gonna go ahead and decide to clear Phantoon now. We'll see if Osse decides to do a full Wreck Ship clear or not. Sometimes Osse is prone to only doing Phantoon in some of the early Wreck Ship plays. So far, not a whole lot in Paradox Cave. Until gravity on the last check. So a gravity suit for mDiyo. And a mirror for Osse, just getting bombed with progression items here. Wow, their routes are going to diverge rather quickly, I believe. mDiyo opting to refill at the ship. Meanwhile, we will get a Fantoon fight from Osse. And Osse, realizing with the beam combo that they have, is going to be pumping 2 sets of 2 missiles into Fantoon. A third set of 2 will normally cause Fantoon to exit the screen, and then going to, on their second round, do a Doppler, but on the first round, able to charge up a charged plasma shot, and a very handy 3-round Fantoon. Meanwhile, we're getting our red tower checks from mDiyo, potentially going to be looking at going to Meridia with that gravity suit. And Meridia could be a dangerous play here. They have no speed booster, but they do have ice, so it is possible to full clear Meridia, although certain checks will not be in logic. And that may make it less likely that there are good items or progression items in Meridia, although it's certainly not out of the question. A bunch of good defensive items for mDiyo here in Red Tower, picking up a blue mail as well as a much needed energy tank. Although with that gravity suit, not really having much to fear in the way of enemy damage, although Meridia enemies are still quite strong. But without the various suits, still going to be taking full environmental damage in the SMZ3 randomizer. And Osse's going to nope out of the rest of Wreck Ship here. Having found that glove and taking care of Fantoon, we'll decide to leave the rest of Wreck Ship behind and return to it if and when they need to. It is very accessible via the ship in a reset as needed. And a good heads-up play on mDiyo, in my opinion, going to Wreck Ship here before exploring Meridia, given the presence of that grapple beam that they found. So going to follow those breadcrumbs and also be rewarded with a power glove. Doing a little double take there at first. Meanwhile, Osse now going to go down Red Tower and probably head towards Kraid. Get some bosses done. And probably pick up their grapple beam as well. And Osse just demonstrating some really good technique and really good knowledge of the randomizer. Just very, very fluidly placing their power bombs and making the most of the wave beam. Some really good movement for Osse in Red Tower. Meanwhile, mDiyo picks up their mirror from the wreck ship location. With the power off, apparently, spikes just don't work. Could be useful for Mega Man to figure that out. Turn off the power, no more instant death. Ooh, and Osse gonna give us a real treat here. showing us a really neat X-ray play. Going to use damage boosts and that Various suit that he has, taking, and even here, opting to take damage from the enemies rather than the spikes to save on health, and makes it through very handily, making it look effortless. And that is not something you will see a lot of runners able to do, especially on their first try. That is a trick that I believe is now required in hard logic. mDiyo taking down Fantoon with some charged full beam combos. Going to make short work of the Elephant Ghost. And Osse getting a nice shot off on the enemies there, but just missing the enemy damage boost. Very nice. That crumble block, when you've learned how to quick fall through them, the timing gets a little bit tricky, and you have to do a spin jump, even with high jump boots, in order to jump off that crumble block and make it back up there before, if you want to make very quick work of that room. Osse showing it off nicely. And a slick super short mock ball. So after all that work in the X-ray room, Osse going to be rewarded at Kraid with the grapple beam. And some nice quick falls in through there. And mDiyo going to set up a save scum here. So this is an interesting strategy for the wreck ship E-tank in the back. So you take this save here, and then this is such a long trek for a single item that if it is not progression or an item worth keeping, generally players will use that area to reset. Also, it is a very dangerous room. And Osse getting a very nice quick kill on Kraid. And I think at this point, the best thing that could happen to mDiyo is that this item is not progression, and getting a reset would allow them to refill all the health that they lost in the spiky room of death. Oh no, but it's silver arrows. That's definitely worth keeping. And unfortunately, ticking down to a single health point, going to have to be perfect through the spiky room of death. And even these sparks would kill mDiyo at this point. Osse gonna get their fire rod here. Oh, tricky wall jump saves the day. I honestly don't know. Oh no, and the enemy in Sponge Bath gonna steal the kill at the last minute. I would honestly maybe be a little bit happier having more energy going into the final areas of Wreck Ship there. But at the very least, mDiyo is going to be able to pick up those silvers again and potentially keep that advantage in the long run over Osse, who may never return for the silver arrows. Osse is more than capable of defeating Ganon in a silverless fashion. And at some point, silver arrows becomes not worth it to go out of your way for. But I think, depending on when mDiyo finds the bow, that could make a lot of other bosses in A Link to the Past much, much quicker. So I still agree with going back and getting this. although it is certainly a time trade-off. And Osse hopping back out. Now, Osse without the high jump boots has a really tight morph jump here. Or he can use this enemy with the ice beam to get around. There we go. Not needing the ice beam, doesn't want to waste any time at all. Some nice tech. That's something I've never seen before. Today I learned. mDiyo going to be clearing out the attic here and opening up that door so that they don't have to eliminate all the enemies again on the way back through. Meanwhile, Osse heading to Bubble Mountain. Getting a very tricky jump there. Without high jump boots, that jump is very, very precise. Picking up Quake for their trouble. mDiyo seeing the first bottle of the seed. And Osse rewarded with the Titan's Mitt in the back, out of logic so far. Oh wait, no, that's definitely in logic with the ice beam, excuse me. It's just Osse doesn't use the ice beam so that they can kill a lot of enemies a lot faster with that plasma wave combo. And some more impressive wall jumps from Osse. And mDiyo doing some tight morph jumps here, mid-air morphs here. Gets through it pretty well. These are very annoying for me to do, these 4-tile jumps. Although I think it may even be able to be done in 3 tiles with a wall jump. Osse not finding anything in the speed booster location. mDiyo going to opt out of that heart. Preferring to save that super missile, perhaps looking at their energy and saying, I may need to crystal flash, I might want to keep that super missile. Not really sure what decision-making process was going on there, but setting up for missiles in the sky now. And a reminder, this is the Group P section, and actually the 2-3 match has already been decided. It was won by Link Force, so the winner of this match will be playing Link Force. And mDiyo gonna be relieved to see that missiles in the sky item wasn't really much of anything, but got it anyway, so good practice too. Meanwhile, Osse, with that wave beam in hand, is making the read on the Crocomire play here. And I think we're going to be able to... Osse has the grapple beam, so we'll probably opt to escape via grapple. I don't know if I would go... I would probably go to Crocomire and regret it. Just because the Indiana Jones location is such a pain to do with grapple only. And you make one misstep and you gotta start the whole room over again. And I'm not sure if Osse was trying to open the door with the wave beam there. I'm not sure if that's possible. I know it can be done in Criteria, but I've never seen it applied anywhere else. mDiyo makes it through Bowling Alley, gets a little bit of a breather, going to find that there's nothing else really worth picking up in the back of a wrecked ship here. And Osse looking like they are going to be in pretty good shape, having skipped most of the back of wrecked ship, unless a bottle leads to progression. But there are several other bottles available, of course. And Osse looking like they're trying to set up a damage boost there. Giving it the old college try, but gonna opt for the grapple beam in the end. mDiyo at a crossroads here, trying to figure out what they should do next. They've already checked Red Tower, and perhaps thinking about going down, going to the ship for a refill. And Osse really does not want to return to the Crocomire area, and so is going to take the back route to the grapple location by using a green gate glitch. Unfortunately, only 3 bombs for their trouble. And with bated breath, picks up the backup. Oh my, and there's a can fly locked behind there. What a crazy, crazy sequence of events. And oh no, mDiyo in a bit of trouble here, not having saved in quite some time. Going to have to be flawless getting through X-ray here. Because remember, Gravity Suit does not negate environmental damage in this randomizer. And the enemy stealing that out from under them, gonna cause an unfortunate death for mDiyo. Gonna send them all the way back to wrecked ship. About the only bit of good news here is that mDiyo knows that the rest of wrecked ship is the only thing they could really want is the silvers and the bottle. I'm gonna opt for those silvers again. Meanwhile, Osse is going to continue flying through the checks. Yeah, I do believe those morph bombs are still out of logic for Osse, although it could have been put into logic with a number of items that would allow them to get to the left side of that grapple room, including speed booster or maybe some other kind of can fly. And Osse's turn to save the old man and do their East Death Mountain play. And from a routing standpoint, I actually think mDiyo had a little bit of an edge here in checking this early on. But Osse, just being so practiced at SMZ3, opts for efficiency of checks, and it typically works out for Osse in that way. And Osse gonna go and peek the Spectacle Rock locations first. Piece of heart. And a red rupee. Nothing to write home about. mDiyo has opted not to pick up that bottle and just take the silvers and run. A wise decision, I think, given that there are other bottles available in the seed. And we've got red pendant skull, red crystal thieves, green pendant mire, blue pendant swamp, red pendant pod. The rest blue crystals. Osse gonna get a check here. Some kind of flying bomb. Not gonna need to come back for that. Osse getting the big key immediately would not be too big of a deal had it been in the basement, given that Osse has come here with the fire rod in hand. Just would have been an unfortunate little bit of time to wait in tile room. Although, honestly, I would not be surprised if Osse knows the Harapot strats, which it looks like he's setting up right now to get to the top quite quickly, and does so. And picking up Bombos as their second item, Osse knows that they no longer need any other checks in Hera. Gonna head straight for the boss. Gets the pixel to pass through the bumper there. And a fighter sword Moldworm fight for Osse. Meanwhile, mDiyo has unlocked the duck. And unfortunately, mDiyo forgetting that the bottle was later in Wreck Ship and not going to be able to check Sick Kid at this time. Osse handily defeating Moldworm. And there's the key. And putting a crystal on the board for Osse. Giving them a slight boss lead. mDiyo's going to take those boots, the glove, the fire source, and the book, and read that as Desert Palace. Now, we know that there is only one item remaining in Desert. So this, given the flute availability, and mDiyo, of course, doesn't have this knowledge because they haven't picked up the Various suit yet, unfortunately. Osse's going to be able to route this much more efficiently and tie it into Mire and or Lower Norfair if they choose to do so. And there's the big key. One of these two chests had to be the big key. And an E-Tank is the last item available in Desert. So Osse not going to be missing that too much. Osse going to be much happier to find the gravity suit in this room. And it's probably going to be the last item that he checks in here. Yep. There it is. So Osse seeing that gravity suit, probably thinking Hammer and Meridia. Although there are a couple other locations where it could be. Not many, though. Thank you very much, SpeedGaming Deutsch, for the raid. Welcome to the stream. We are watching Osse101 versus mDiyo in SMZ3. In our 1v1 tournament. Osse gonna go ahead and check Spiral Cave. This is one that sometimes Osse will elect to leave behind. It is a single check. Oh, and Osse having the Titan's mitts here is going to have some very handy routing available to them that mDiyo did not, which is East Dark Death Mountain, including all of those hookshot locations and Super Bunny Cave. So some very, very efficient routing by Osse here. Meanwhile, mDiyo in the Lanmo fight, opting to use Fire Rod strats until they are empty on magic and going to finish it up with some Master Sword spins. And we are back even on bosses at this point in the seed, although starting to see some of that divergence show. Osse going to head into Hookshot Cave. So far, not so much. And looking like Hookshot Cave was a bust. Quite unfortunate, but not entirely outside the expectations. Osse getting the information that Turtle Rock's medallion requirement is Bombos. Because the hookshot led to Paradox Cave with Gravity Suit in it, that may have been the only logic chain that was required by the hookshot, and so not terribly unsurprising that Hookshot Cave had nothing, although given the density of item checks there, definitely worth looking into. mDiyo making the Gravity Suit read here, and going to give us our first peek into Meridia. And Osse finally activating their flute. It was just about a matter of convenient timing for Osse. They will likely pick up the Master Sword from the library ledge as well while they're here. Or possibly route that in with like Digging Game or something else in this area. And Sanders pointing out that who is our tracker, by the way. Make sure you give them a follow. Been working hard this tournament for tracking assignments in the past 48 hours. We salute you, Sanders. Thank you very much for going to bed late and waking up early to help us out. But saying flute to 8 because the Variasuit is actually located in Ice Rod Cave, which is something we unfortunately didn't get to see live on SpeedGaming here. Osse going to go ahead and take that flute and the mitts to Meyer Shed here. And looking like they may be opting to finish off the rest of Desert while they're here. I don't know that I would say that high jump-less Meridia is too tough. It is a little bit of a pain, but gravity jumps and the grapple beam are perfectly good options to get through 95% of Meridia. The only one that is a true chore is Shack Tool, which is not in logic without the high jump boots, I believe. Or space jump, or any other thing. mDiyo going to be rewarded with some half magic at the beach. And Osse making a good read in Desert, realizing that there can be no other items here after picking up that E-Tank, going to head straight to Landmo and pick up another crystal. And mDiyo getting the space jump in the Wishing Well location. Going to be happy to see that. Going to make their jumps a lot more sure for the rest of the seed. And Osse looking like deliberately setting up a little bit of a damage boost here to push him towards the boss door as soon as the cutscene is over. Unfortunately, just a little bit off, and decides to go back and pick up that magic just in case. And going to have exactly enough magic. And I don't know if Osse consciously made that decision that, hey, I need this small magic jar for exactly one more shot on Landmo, or if they just kind of did it by feel. Either way, impressive. mDiyo taking a save, gonna go ahead and head down into the sand pits and take a look around. Meanwhile, Osse appearing to check Checkerboard Cave. Check, Checkerboard Cave. mDiyo not finding anything useful in the right sand pit. Gonna take a reset here. And I'm wondering if mDiyo knows how to snail clip. Or if at the very least is going to check the leftmost item in Aqueduct via wall jumps or space jump now that they have it. Osse going to peek into Norfair here with both suits and 35 supers and a full beam combo. There is nothing out of reach for Osse in lower Norfair here. Seeing an E-Tank above GT there. And Osse gonna get him into a corner here and lock him in. Seeing X-ray scope in the left side of the sand pits, and I didn't quite catch what the space jump required item was. Oh, there it is, a super missile. And while the X-ray scope may prove handy for mDiyo for microwave strategies, having the grapple beam and basically only Dragon and Batoon left, maybe not as appealing. So I totally understand leaving that one behind. mDiyo does check that item at Aqueduct, but does not appear to know the snail clip strategy to check the other item, which is unfortunate. It always feels bad leaving a speed booster check behind, as anyone who watched my race last night would know. Still sour about that. But mDiyo does know the ice clip here, and so going to more efficiently route in Dragon and not have to come back later. And Osse gonna continue blasting through lower Norfair here. Come on, pop up there, mDiyo. You just need to morph and then unmorph and you're through. And Osse gonna use some ice strats here rather than bomb jumping to save a little bit of time. Nope, never mind. Just gonna get a ridiculously difficult wall jump with no high jump boots. Well done. And mDiyo, unfortunately, still having a little bit of trouble with this ice clip here. Stand up. You got it. Oh, no. Osse with a swaggy enemy freeze there, going to just refuse to take damage in the rising lava room here with a whole bunch of really neat and tight jumps, and mDiyo is through. And that full beam combo making short work of Batwoon. Gonna pick up a tempered sword just past Batwoon. Osse going to use a intentional damage Kego strat to get through the platform here even more quickly. And gonna try and set up a double pirate kill, but unfortunately the second one just not quite cooperating with that full beam combo strategy against the gold pirates there. Meanwhile, mDiyo just gonna space jump right on through towards Dragon. And I'm a little concerned about mDiyo's health situation against Dragon if they are planning to use grapple strats here. I would empty those reserves manually into my health pool immediately if I were going for that strategy. Could get wrecked by some RNG if Dragon does too many tail slaps. Meanwhile, Osse, fighting a different SM boss, going to be using charge strats against Ridley here with the full beam combo. And Ridley is a little bit annoying to fight without the high jump boots. And looks like mDiyo is opting for super missile strats instead to be a little bit safer, and going to be peppering in some full beam combo shots as well. Takes down Dragon pretty handily. And we are even at 3 bosses each in Super Metroid. Osse having the slight lead in A Link to the Past boss count, having finished up Hera with the Fire Rod. Or rather, having finished up Hera earlier on when they did their Death Mountain checks, which mDiyo may have opted out of without a fire source to try and be more efficient with routing, but unfortunately it didn't pay off this time. And mDiyo going to opt not to check Plasma Beam or Shack Tool here. And gonna try and use a Power Bomb jump to get over top of these enemies. Gets one. You can clip through these enemies by jumping straight up and holding the down button until the very last moment and then pressing right. It is actually much easier to do without the gravity suit. Osse full beam combo, gonna scorn those super missiles. He says, nah, I'm in SM Go mode, pretty much. I don't really need those. mDiyo taking advantage of that Meridia portal to get into Dark World a little bit more quickly. And this is an interesting play by mDiyo, given that they had the flippers, right, and the Moon Pearl, and not a lot else, not having found the hammer in Meridia anywhere. It could have been the logic chain, as far as mDiyo knows, that that this was their way into Dark World, but unfortunately, they did not mirror while they were at Dark Ice Rod Cave and going to continue to miss out on that Various suit. Very unfortunate. Osse going to pick up a shovel in the last check in Lower Norfair for Chivalry. And oh no, mDiyo gets sniped by a Dark World enemy spear. Gonna have to go back and pick up the Kiki the monkey. This time with less enemies, though. And Osse with just some precision cannon work there. Very nice. And Osse going to show us a neat technique that I still don't fully understand. Basically, you just stand against here and fire upwards until you can clip through these blocks. No speed booster? No problem, says Osse. mDiyo going to opt to check pod here, and I don't know that this is the first check that I would make here. Without the bow and the hammer, yes, there are a lot of items in a lot of potential items in pod, but there are so many other Dark World checks that you could make first that could potentially house the bow and the hammer here that I might have put this off for quite a bit longer first. Meanwhile, Osse going to also break the glass and head into Meridia, knowing that they can more or less full clear it with their item set as well. Going to continue blasting through Super Metroid in typical Osse fashion, very efficiently. Going to try for that Moonfall. That one's a little gross, just because the fish is in the way, and it's in, you can't just hold the right button as you fall, or else you'll get caught on the platform that Osse did. And unfortunately, I still think that mDiyo doesn't have a potion either, from what I remember. Unfortunately, having left that bottle in Wreck Ship, not even going to be able to potion glitch in pod for those two checks in the back. And Osse going to give us some grapple strats, opting to do this rather than a gravity jump. Osse does not like entering the menu. Oh, gonna go for some swag air jump strats here. These are really cool. This is called grapple jumping. And is a hallmark of suitless Meridia strategies in hard mode. And it is quite a bit more difficult to do with the gravity suit than without, because you are falling so much more quickly. You have a lot less time to put in the inputs. mDiyo picking up the big key, gonna go and check Dark Maze in the dark. And we'll see how up mDiyo is on their strategies in the dark rooms here. Meanwhile, Osse going to pick up the space jump in Wishing Well. And I do think mDiyo made it to the upper left item, but it was unfortunately not visible on screen. That may mean that it's a dungeon item or something else that does not show up. There's the compass in the lower right. Someday, I really will, I swear, compile a list of things that don't show up in dark rooms. Oh, insult to injury, just a green rupee in the big chest and pod. Osse, no hesitation, going to go straight for the snail clip. Without the high jump boots, it is possible to lock yourself in here. Oh my gosh. Going to do the non-traditional snail clip and find ether, which could potentially, actually, as far as we know, not required unless a mire dip is required and would require ether. Although I didn't catch what the pendant requirement was, or rather the medallion requirement was for mire when Osse was there. Something I should have been paying more attention to. Did anyone else catch it? Osse getting their ice clip handily. mDiyo unfortunately going to be taking a death in Dark World here, and that's going to send them back to Light World, and that is just going to be incredibly demoralizing, because they do not realize that their Dark World access is easier than they're making it. They really need to get that Variasuit from Ice Rod Cave and get that information and realize that they don't have to go the whole way through Meridia. mDiyo now going to check the back of Escape with that glove and hoping desperately for a hammer or a second glove, and unfortunately not going to find it here. Misery Mire is Quake, according to Buzz. Did I pronounce that right? So ether, unfortunately not required, and making it at least appear as though speed booster likely not going to be required in the seed, although we have not seen shaft supers or waterway, so impossible to know yet. And mDiyo gonna do some gonna opt to do some heat runs, and this could be good for mDiyo. So depending on their comfort with Super Metroid heat runs, could potentially make their way to the right side towards Bubble Mountain and find that glove, which is really the best thing that could happen to mDiyo right now. And realize, hey, I might need Variasuit. I might have missed that somewhere. So hopefully that's the way we're going to see things go. And with the space jump in hand, going to have an easier time of it. Meanwhile, Osse takes down their final Super Metroid boss, and probably going to nope out of this game and start trying to clear as much Link to the Past as possible. And Osse grabbing the Moonfall. Oh, looks like they're going to do the rest of the checks. So Osse is going to head back and do the sand pits now, and potentially wrap in Shacktool and Plasma with that. mDiyo needs to be careful here. Does have enough ammo to Crystal Flash if they need it. And mDiyo wisely going to refill their energy manually so that they can set up this Crystal Flash with a little bit more time and not have to worry, because you do take damage while your reserves are filling. So good heads-up play there. Could have potentially saved mDiyo's heat run here, and potentially a huge break for them. But they are going to need to refill on ammo if they want to make it out of this area, unless they know the same speed boost, the same Frog Speedway clip that Osse does. Osse with the save scum going to definitely not opt for the X-ray scope, having defeated all of the bosses in which it would be applicable in Super Metroid at this point. Come on, mDiyo, get up there, get farming. There we go. Osse, not interested in anything in Right Sand Pit, now gonna head to Shack Tool, trying to hunt down that hammer. And at this point, I'm kind of wondering how long it'll be before Osse decides to go back and do the rest of Wreck's ship. Although it is probably in his best interest at this point to not do so. And Osse going to give Shack Tool the business. mDiyo turning off the ice beam for some more efficient farming, a wise choice in my opinion. mDiyo realizing that they're on a timer here, going to open up that item and the door at the same time and give themselves a breath to think about whether they want to pick it up or not as they enter the door transition. And Osse lets Shack Tool live this time. Just power bombs there. Osse gonna get a tricky wall jump to morph here. Looks good. And having got nothing, Osse giving Shack Tool the business for a second time. This is a Sinus-approved action. Speaking of things Sinus approves of, please give these runners a follow. They are truly a treat to watch. Yes, this is normal difficulty. And mDiyo, unfortunately, not going to find anything at Wave Beam. We really want them to get up into Norfair Reserve area as quickly as possible. But they're going to have to farm a little bit more, and it is going to be a tight farm. Meanwhile, Osse making their last check in Meridia, the plasma location. This is in logic with the plasma beam. And just rupees there. mDiyo going to see Quake at this location. And gonna find their Titan's Mitt. So, if nothing else, at least mDiyo has the information that Titan's Mitt is there and going to be able to get it. Now what do you do, mDiyo? You don't quite have enough power bombs to do another Crystal Flash. Where are you going to farm at? Down here by Croc, it looks like. Osse appearing to gonna murder the pineapple enemy with morph bombs in frustration. And Osse gonna demonstrate the clip through the roly-polies here for us and head into A Link to the Past again as well. And mDiyo's got their farm started at least. But appears to be full on missiles and super missiles, so hopefully probability will allow them to fill up on their energy quite quickly. Now, Osse, having seen that Skullwoods is a pendant, probably trying to ferret out that hammer before going to Thieves Town, definitely doesn't want to leave the basement behind, and opting to leave Thieves Town for later for more efficient routing, if possible. So we do have the book. I'm not sure if we've had a ped check yet or not. There's one item in Skullwoods. And Osse, unfortunately, did not find a key here, so going to have to go through the Room of Requirement. In SMZ3, this area will always have a key in this chest, because you get locked in, and the potential only way out is through the top section with a key. Oh no, mDiyo. Get up there, get through, you're so close. Whew! That was a close one. Missed the powerbomb jump and just barely escapes with that glove into A Link to the Past. mDiyo, well done. Should breathe a huge sigh of relief. Racing 2 games at the same time? Quite so. And what you probably just saw was mDiyo was able to teleport between the games. There are 4 such portals between the 2 games. They're combined onto the same ROM. And you can find Super Metroid items in A Link to the Past, and A Link to the Past items in Super Metroid as well. It's a very interesting randomizer that requires quite the breadth of knowledge. mDiyo gonna opt to delete those blocks with the mirror. Osse nopes out of the rest of Skullwoods, and not sure if they found the second item there or not. But either way, routing this nicely into Graveyard Ledge, and it appears that Osse has already checked King's Tomb earlier. So going to be heading back towards Village of Outcasts, where there are an abundance of checks available with those Titans mitts. mDiyo heading into Hookshot Cave, and unfortunately going to get the same news that Osse did, which is not a whole lot there. Osse finds the screw attack. Too little, too late there, RNG. We don't need that anymore. In fact, that's just going to be a hindrance. Osse's going to have to turn that off for Zeb Skip unless they are really proficient with down back strategies, or find a speed booster. And it looks like mDiyo left Spiral Cave behind earlier in an effort to save some time. Going to check it now. And unfortunately, no help there either. I think mDiyo may be realizing that they need the Varia suit to put that mitt in logic, but how long they pursue that is anyone's guess. mDiyo picks up an energy tank from the bottle vendor. Osse picked that up earlier, searching for their Pegasus boots. There's the speed booster. Thanks a lot, game. mDiyo going to opt for an earlier Thieves Town. May actually see them high five here. Osse with the swag entry into the library here. Going to route in that tempered sword in very nice fashion. And I think this is really a hallmark of Osse's playstyle. Osse has had the information that that sword has been there since about 4 or 5 minutes into the seed, and just so confident in their ability to clear dungeons without it, having found another sword, just says, I'll wait until I come back in Dark World to pick this up later. And there's the hammer in Thieves Town. Something that is detrimental to Osse's strategy of not wanting to enter Thieves Town without the hammer. He's going to continue to put that off for a little while, although Osse is rapidly running out of other checks to do. Will probably eventually make their way down there. But a little signs of life for mDiyo to potentially make up some ground on Osse here. What's Magic Bat got for us? Just some cash. And unfortunately, Osse going to have to leave behind the Hammer Peg's location for now. Although it won't be far away from him when he does find it. Osse going to use the flute to get over here to the thief. Open up the lunchbox, just 10 arrows. And I'm guessing that since Swamp is a pendant, Osse is probably going to leave Bombos until much, much later. Or the Bombos tablet, rather, until much later in the seed. Preferentially checking it with Swamp Palace, I would guess. Osse going to retrace their steps a little bit here. They're going to be checking Cave south of Grove, as well as Woody Harrelson, and probably going to check that shovel as well while they're in the Grove. Nice, efficient routing play. mDiyo has just found the key to the basement. I haven't been keeping up with their dungeon items, but if they are heading over to the big chest, it stands to reason that there's still an item available. And it's an ice rod. So 2 required progression items in Thieves Town today. Thieves Town is the play. mDiyo going to face off against Blind here. Osse going to route in Bombos now. Really wants that hammer, or that bow, anything to give him some information on where to go next in the seed. But with the hammer being locked in Thieves Town, he's going to find no such breadcrumbs, unfortunately, and going to have to go on faith eventually and check Thieves Town. Now this is an interesting play by Osse, and at first I'm about ready to scream into my microphone, "No, Osse, don't do it," before realizing that you can only check one item in Swamp, and it is an absolute nightmare. So Swamp, the first chest is always a key, and the second chest can be unlocked with just a bomb, but after that you need the hammer to progress further. So a heads up play by Osse here to say, I can only check this one chest, and if it's the hammer, it's a huge payoff. You basically win the seed, because it's such an unlikely thing to find. And get a mirror out of here almost immediately. Yeah. And so, armed with that information, Osse is probably going to be leaving the Swamp Palace behind for good. And going to go ahead and wrap Hype Cave in here, which I do believe mDiyo has already checked when they came out of Meridia. Not a whole lot to be had here. Another bottle, probably the best thing they found. Osse's got more than enough energy tanks to do stand-up glitch, which he will almost certainly do, given his bean combo and energy tank count. And I'm now wondering if Osse is considering Ice Palace. Or perhaps Pod. I'm not sure I agree with this, Osse. I mean, yes, you would potentially orphan one check in Thieves Town. And in this case, it would be pretty bad to have to leave it behind, but you get bailed out at the same time. So this is a rather sort of paradoxical explanation, both justification and anti-justification of Osse's strategy, given that he would have to orphan the big chest in Thieves Town based on the information that he has. But once he gets in there, finding the hammer, immediately finding out that, yeah, okay, that wasn't that bad of an idea after all. But instead, gonna opt for Pod here. And we've already seen mDiyo make this play, and we know that there's not much to be had. Osse is going to check that first chest and find a key, and going to find that Pod is not bow locked, and knowing the logic as Osse does, going to take the unfortunate breadcrumbs and say, okay, this isn't bow locked. I should dive the rest of this because there could be progression in here. But unfortunately, there's a chance that it won't be bow locked and it'll still have nothing, which is going to be the case today. I'd give that Hype Cave maybe a 1 out of 10. I mean, that bottle is useful, but Osse already had one. And I doubt very much that Osse will need a second one. Osse gonna do a Mimic delete here. So going to pause buffer in order to get this Mimic clipped into the wall. And eventually, once the enemy's in the wall, you're gonna see something similar to what you see in Enemizers sometimes in regular A Link to the Past randomizer, where they're just gonna kind of float off the screen when they're in a place that they shouldn't be. Just so. But unfortunately, Mimic Clip will only get you so far in Pod. You still need a bow to get to the very end. Until somebody figures out how to get around that cutscene in Pod. Which I've got to say, whenever I learned A Link to the Past and Super Metroid for this randomizer, I naively believed that I was getting into it at a time a year ago when most of the tricks are probably found by now. There's not going to be that much new tech. And then say hello to Icebreaker and Diver Down. Osse with the swaggy hammer yump. Having the big key, gonna opt for the hammer yump to more efficiently route this area. There's the compass. And we're gonna get another look at that upper left item that we couldn't see on mDiyo's screen. But maybe Osse will give us a clue as to what it is. It can't be a key. So it's going to stay a secret to everyone for now. Fool, there is always new tech. Yeah. Well, you can tell that I'm a novice speedrunner based on that attitude. And Osse is just about out of checks here in Pod. Osse is just about out of a lot of checks. And I'm wondering if Osse is going to opt for wreck ship before checking Thieves Town. How far will Osse's desire not to be in a potential redive situation in Thieves Town go? mDiyo gonna take up some side quests here. Save the breadsmith. Talk to the magic bat. Open a lunchbox. And Osse looking like they're going to be heading over to Pyramid and Trollfish. But after that, their world tour of Dark World will be complete. Magic Bat going to bestow some electrified blue rupees on mDiyo. Osse going to find another mail upgrade on the pyramid ledge. Just another luxury item for Osse. Going to be able to use more damage boosting strategies and worry a lot less about their health pool. Meanwhile, mDiyo is going to make a check that Osse was not able to make, which is hammer pegs here. Only going to find a full heart there, though. And what does the catfish have for us this time? Osse, you missed the circle there, buddy. That's better. Trollfish gonna troll, everyone. And Osse holding fast to that strategy, looking like they're gonna go check wreck ship now. Yep. Osse now wondering if they left either the bow or the hammer or both behind here in wreck ship. Also got criteria power bombs to check still with that space jump that they retrieved. Although it's been available significantly longer than that with the morph bombs as well, just much slower. So another situation in which Osse's patience with the seed is paying off for him. At least from, you know, a time, a chest per minute, or an item efficiency, time efficiency check is concerned. And it appears mDiyo has lost the purple chest somewhere. Gonna go back and pick it up. And at this point, already having checked Grove, would probably opt for a flute. Yeah, unfortunately, that's Sphere Zero Varia very much haunting mDiyo right now. Although certainly an admirable performance given their routing without it. Although certainly I have to wonder how much that is weighing on mDiyo's mind right now. You've got that glove, it's out of logic. Pretty much everything you're doing right now is out of logic until you find that glove. Although, that's actually probably not true. mDiyo realizing, no, that's not true either. So the speed booster being at Digging Game means that mDiyo actually doesn't have logical access to Dark World yet. So they may be mistakenly thinking that they are currently in logic still via the Meridia portal, but that in fact is unfortunately not true. Osse racing through the rest of these wreck ship checks, going to pick up those silvers and hang on to them. Might as well at this point. It can only make what he's doing faster to keep them. And mDiyo, having taken that unfortunate death earlier, is going to be revisiting Height Cave for that bottle, which may be their first one now. We're still missing quite a few items from both players, including the Cane of Samaria and the bow, which we haven't seen at all yet, that are both going to be required to complete the seed. And oh dear, mDiyo taking a look at Swamp, not having the same information that Osse did earlier, may decide to do a full dive of Swamp, which could pay dividends if it's got either that bow or the cane in it. But unfortunately going to continue to lead mDiyo further away from the Varia suit that they desperately need. And Osse going to realize now that this was mostly a wasted trip, a thing that they could have done without. Unfortunately, not going to feel very good returning to A Link to the Past, with the exception of the fact that he now has confirmed knowledge of what he needs to do. And what he really, really apparently does not want to do, which is dive Thieves down. Although it looks like he's going to check Waterway and Shaft Supers first. And I don't believe we have even had a scout of Shaft Supers yet. So this could still have something that we need. Osse had the opportunity to check this earlier, but declined to do so. Very clean. And a fourth sword at the top of Shaft Supers there. Osse not going to turn that down. Meanwhile, mDiyo going to show us more of Swamp Palace, and opting to do a full clear before heading to the end. Something that you'll see common to a lot of runners in SMZ3 and A Link to the Past Randomizer is kind of like a half dive into Swamp, in which you check the front of Swamp and the back of Swamp, and you orphan the left side until you have to, because there is a possibility that you could get something like map and compass and big key locked in the big chest and the two left side items, which could potentially save you a good bit of time. Osse heading to Waterway, the Get Randoed location. And going to just find a heart container there. So it appears as that Speed Booster was strictly a luxury item this seed, not required by any real logic, given the availability of swords elsewhere in the seed. And Osse, having cleared all of the bosses in Super Metroid, may actually opt to clear Mother Brain here. Which I think is a kind of a heads-up play. And mDiyo, unfortunately, going to take a death on the overworld, but this is going to hurt them a lot less. Oh, my mistake. Actually, it was a death in Swamp Palace to get a refill on health. Is it finally happening? I think it's finally happening, chat. How bad would a bow in Misery Mire be? I don't know. It would stink, but there are only 2 checks in Mire, and both of them have everything they need to check it. mDiyo getting the bad news here that Varia has been available for a very long time. And I imagine this will change the way mDiyo routes the SMZ3 randomizer forever. Osse blasting through these Metroid rooms with ease. And we'll see if Osse is going to be able to do a baby skip for us today. And unfortunately, mDiyo did not get a block deletion there, and going to have to go back into Mire Shed again for that second chest. Nope. Osse just gonna get nommed on. mDiyo opting for the shield. And then deciding, you know what, maybe it's not really worth it. And Osse setting up a speed booster Zeb skip. But having not gotten it on the first try, is going to instead go for the damaging Zeb skip, which unfortunately forces him to menu to turn off his screw attack. And Osse playing extremely aggressively has decided to Crystal Flash right before Mother Brain, just to be sure. And that screw attack found in C-shaped house going to allow mDiyo a much safer traversal of lower Norfair here. I ordinarily try to wait as long as possible when clearing Super Metroid, just so that, you know, you can add more items and it will make life easier. But more and more, I'm seeing the merit of doing things like Osse is doing here, which is clearing it early on when you can, when you're sure you're done with it and you're sure you can do it. It gives you about 9 minutes of mindless execution to think about what you're doing for the rest of the seed. And Osse going to set up the stand-up glitch. Almost no reason not to here. Does not have the safety of the X-ray scope if he makes a mistake, but Osse probably having made that mistake at least once in their career, likely going to know exactly how to avoid that. And I do believe that it is my fault what just happened to Osse. Osse going to get stuck in the down position, but is fortunately still going to be able to get nommed on by the baby Metroid, and just going to have to finish this cutscene up the way it was intended. There are much worse places to get stuck here. Meanwhile, mDiyo heading into Ridley's room. Get your G's in chat for Osse. That's one down. Now, if you've never seen the SMZ3 randomizer before, you may notice the absence of a timer during the escape sequence here, is because it does not appear in the SMZ3 randomizer when you finish Super Metroid first, because the game needs to stay open until you finish A Link to the Past. Osse getting a nice moonfall there. And mDiyo wondering when this ridiculous dragon is going to pick them up. Not quite there yet. And Osse getting the behemoth spark, very nice. And Ridley is down for mDiyo. And Osse continuing to scorn that Thieves Town check. Does not want any part of it. Gonna go and check Meyer. I am now thoroughly convinced that Osse will last location this hammer, for certain. I mean, how much that actually matters is another thing, because Osse is just an absolute machine when it comes to efficiency and routing of checks. He is just brute forcing the seed and bending it to his will. And it's giving mDiyo a chance to catch up. It's really a best case scenario for mDiyo here. The quicker they get back to A Link to the Past and start doing some checks that are locked behind hammer, the quicker they'll catch up to Osse. But it is only a matter of time before Osse literally runs out of other things to do. And oh no, mDiyo has run out of power bombs. Oh no, and now it's locked. Oh, mDiyo, you needed to get out of there. You could maybe farm them if you went back. But now in a very precarious position. Oh, that's smarts. Has no other choice but to do a reset. Oh, that is very unfortunate. Meanwhile, Osse just going to destroy Meyer here. And really the only thing that Osse cannot check in Meyer is the green pendant turn-in, as well as the Vitreous check. Vitreous check being relatively unlikely to have anything based on the number of chests that are available here. That green pendant, oh, that would be awful to have something there. But Osse doing the calculus and saying to themselves, I am just going to check the rest of... I'm going to check all of Meyer and try and get through it. And hopefully find those two as quickly as possible. And Osse showing off some bomb jump strats here. And says, you guys know I can do it. I'm out of here. Gonna go ahead and powder an anti-fairy. Just for safety. There's the big key. Gonna unlock the big chest location for Osse to check as well. And based on his key count, it looks to me like he has 1 or 2 items available on the right side of Meyer. mDiyo checking the Shaft Supers area. Going to potentially pick up their next sword there. Osse picking up the missiles in the big chest. Going to have picked up 2 items and gonna nope out of Misery Mire. And is fluting to Kakariko. It may be happening, chat. I think Osse has finally given in. Alright, game. I'll check Thieves Town. But you can't make me like it, says Osse. I don't know if Osse is a rage slasher, but it would certainly be warranted in this situation, I do believe. mDiyo going to gamble on Ice Palace here, and this is interesting. This is now fully in logic for mDiyo, and gives us potentially new information here. We could see a cane or a bow in Ice Palace. In fact, it seems quite likely at this point, based on what we know with our omniscient perspective and all of Osse's monstrously efficient checking on the other side of the screen. Here it comes. No rage slashes. mDiyo gonna assassinate some Pengators here, opting for the hookshot strategy. Pengators are actually very healthy creatures with a lot of health, but are defeated in 1 hit with the hookshot. Some good knowledge if and when you ever return to A Link to the Past. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see Icebreaker here because to the best of my knowledge, Cane is required for Icebreaker, although Diver Down can be done with just a bomb, I believe. And Osse getting denied here in Harmless Hellway. It was anything but. And mDiyo using a neat setup for those Stalfos that I've never seen before, actually. And we are getting the rapid beeps from Osse again. The cardiac arrest beeps, I think I will call it from now on. mDiyo with a nice bomb jump to get across here. Without the accessibility of Diver Down, going to be taking the bomb jump strats as the next quickest way to get through Ice Palace. Osse gonna find a key here and probably gonna roll his eyes and say, oh great, what did this hammer that I just found unlock? And now we'll see if we really get some rage slashes, because he's about to find his ice rod here. mDiyo continuing to plug away at Ice Palace. Are you opting for Cold Stare first? This is interesting. Osse going to do a 2-heart blind fight. Certainly has enough safety available to them, having just picked up the cape in Thieves Town as well. But the blind fight is deterministic, and so if you fight blind the same way every time, theoretically blind should always move in the same patterns, and Osse showing a practiced hand at the blind fight No sweat, no damage. Just crystals. And I honestly did not know that you could get spin speed off of the stairs in Thieves Town. I didn't think to do that, but there you have it. You certainly can. Where are you going, Osse? Now, Osse did dive the front of Skull Woods earlier, but heading back in must have left an item behind. mDiyo is unfortunately going to get sidetracked here at Misery Mire, which we know they will not be able to complete. It is possible for Ped to have the bow, and I would not... I would say it's not out of the question that Osse will be checking the Ped immediately after finishing Skullwoods here. There's the second Skullwoods item, and so Osse is going to peace out without killing Mothula, but is going to check the Ped, confirmed, and may find out that they immediately have to go right back in and kill Mothula anyway. We will find out. Just couch cash. Nothing else to see here, everyone. So Osse, now armed with the knowledge that they will not have to kill Mothula for the pendant, is going to carry on with the remainder of their checks. And looking like they're going to head back into Dark World and perhaps check Hammer Pegs, which he had to leave behind earlier. Now, Osse is not one to panic under pressure, but certainly had I found the hammer when Osse did, I would just be trying to clear dungeons as quickly as possible because I would feel behind. Osse clearly feels no such apprehension and is going to continue just this machine-like march through the rest of his checks as efficiently as possible. And now it does appear as though Osse making way in ice. And I have to imagine that Osse, with the Samaria clips including Icebreaker, and was also trying to put off this location just in case he found the cane at Hammer Pegs. No such luck, though. Osse going to slay some Pen Gators, opting to use gold, their other weakness, apparently. Silver for Lycanthropes, gold for Pen Gators. How about Swamp? mDiyo did check Swamp, and I don't know that they full cleared it, but they definitely made a bunch of checks in there and didn't find a whole lot of anything. unfortunately. And Osse, in the absence of the king, going to have to do this bomb jump as well. Does it handily. Throws in a hammer dash for swag and a bonk. And at this time, mDiyo is realizing there's really not much else that they can do in Mire, unfortunately. Or perhaps fortunately, we don't really know. We know that Ped is dead. And seeing the entryway portal to Lower Norfair, gonna go ahead and give this another go. Had some time to shake out the jitters, ready to come back at this one fresh. And mDiyo, unfortunately, having a little bit of trouble setting this up here. The easy way to get GT to behave the way that you want is to morph at his feet, and he will jump backwards from you while you are morphed, so you can get him into the corner there. And then whenever you're doing charge strats with Plasma Beam, you actually want to be kneeling when you do that, because you can hit GT twice with the Plasma Beam, with a charged plasma shot if you are kneeling and he is standing. You can't... Oh, nice stair clip by Osse. You can still get double hits, but generally only when GT is jumping. Actually, I think I have that backwards. I think it's when he's jumping that you're less likely to hit him twice. Either way, kneeling is the best strat whenever you are using charge strats against GT, and you want to be standing whenever you're using super missiles. And there's the bow at Ice-T. Oh, that really smarts for mDiyo, having only dived and gone directly for Cold Stare. But with the knowledge that mDiyo had, and knowing the competition that they're up against, I really can't fault them for trying to sacrifice some checks to make up some time. But unfortunately, this is going to be one that really hurts them. And so now, bow in hand, Osse can complete Pod as well as Eastern, which he will no doubt very, very handily tie together. And Osse very nicely going to get Cold Stare into a corner there and finish them all off at the same time and earn themselves another crystal, reestablishing their lead in A Link to the Past as well as their dominance in Super Metroid. So with the information that we now have, it looks like Osse is a red cane away from go mode. And it seems likely at this time that it will be either in Pod or Eastern. And we have seen almost a full clear of Pod, so it's probably on Helmasaur King or Armos Knights. I can't remember if we have seen all three items in Eastern or not. I know mDiyo dived it earlier, and Osse probably did at some point as well, looking for that hammer. And Osse going to opt for pod first. mDiyo takes down Ridley a second time for good measure here. And since we are retracing steps that we have seen before so far, and aren't really going to see too many checks for too many new things for a minute, I would like to again plug our sponsor for the tournament, Rank 1 Gaming, which is a social media type website for gamers, where you can find more information on the tournament, as well as check out the profiles for each of the runners. It is on the overlay below each of their names, and you can see what other games they play on Twitch, what sorts of competitions they've entered, and the like. Thank you again to Rank 1 Gaming for putting up some prize money for this tournament for the top 4 spots. We appreciate you. And Osse does not have a lamp, which brings an interesting thing to mind. Where is the lamp? Because neither of these 2 dungeons are logically completable without it. I am wondering the same thing, Dweb. I do believe at this point Osse has full cleared Super Metroid. There's simply nothing left. It is annihilated. So what sorts of checks have opened up? I guess it could be in Swamp. I don't think either player has full cleared Swamp. So that almost has to be where the lamp is. Was Spike Cave checked? I think it was, but I'm not 100% on that. But you are very right that Spike Cave is one of those checks that very often slips through the cracks. And it's one that Osse is want to leave behind. But either way, I think we're at a point in the seed where Osse is not going to miss that lamp at all. mDiyo going to double take on that shovel. And probably letting out a sigh of exasperation. Just one more thing. And it does appear that Osse has checked all of the locations in Eastern, except for Armos Knights here. And I guess another thing that Osse probably knows going into this is that this can't be Hammer. This basically has to be Kane of Samaria at this point, and he's probably thinking that Lamp is somewhere in Swamp Palace. He's probably going to have all the information about the seed that he needs and know that he doesn't need to go and check that. So Osse, ironically, may know that he's in go mode right now, and know that he's going to find the Kane here, which would be one of the most unusual go modes that I think I've ever seen, if he has checked Spike Cave. If he has not checked Spike Cave, then maybe not. Maybe there's one thing left. But either way, Osse is going to be pretty sure in the knowledge that the seed is going to be completable very shortly for him. mDiyo going to take out Croc with the plasma beam and decide to go for a ride. And there is our red Kane. Osse is in go mode at 2 hours and 34 minutes, almost 2:35. And all that remains is Turtle Rock, Ganon's Tower, and Ganon. But I will have to make sure that I ask Osse if he checked Spike Cave in the post-game interview, because if he did, then it is very likely that he knew that Kane was going to be on Armos Knights at that point. Meanwhile, mDiyo checking out the rest of Upper Norfair that was not accessible to them earlier. And going to find those wretched bombs at Indiana Jones, which would have helped earlier. Osse gonna get some speedy thumps out of that hammer. And going to make their way into Turtle Rock. And there are the bombs for mDiyo. And Osse taking some practice swings on the conveyor belt ride there. There's the big key immediately. So there is some strategy involved in potentially saving some time in Turtle Rock depending on when you find the big key. Wow, a lot of practice slashes. And we will see if Osse decides to do the chest in the middle of the pipe maze. It may depend a little bit on the number of keys that are found here. mDiyo has now pretty much full cleared all of Upper and Lower Norfair. Going to be making their way back, likely, to A Link to the Past. And Osse going to take advantage of some invulnerability frames there with a double Samaria block cast in the Chain Chomp room. Very nice. Meanwhile, mDiyo looking probably towards Hera, I would guess, with the mirror out here. As well as that ether tablet, if they have not yet checked it. Osse leaving nothing to chance here. Actually, just the opposite. Gonna go and pick up that key and not check the central chest. Just kidding. Gonna leave a little bit to chance. And going to skip the big chest as well. Steal this key and go on down to Laser Bridge. Now, someone more familiar with Turtle Rock key logic than me may be able to tell you how likely it is that Osse will get away without having to do either of those chests. Hatch says, always steal the pokey key if you have the big key. And Osse gonna direct his silhouette on the Darkroom conveyor belt ride. Unfortunately, mDiyo taking a little bit of a fall here. Going to have to restart Hera a little bit. Opting to mirror, I thought they might be setting up a Harapot glitch. There's the map. So Osse just needs one key. There's the mushroom and the final key. So Osse's all set. And gonna set up a nice cane dash there to get through that room extremely efficiently. Gonna refill here and head into their fight with Trinex. mDiyo finding Bombos, which is going to be required for them to get into Turtle Rock eventually here. And Osse with the gold sword has no problem at all knocking out those 2 out of 3 heads very quickly. Gonna get a double on that spin slash and one last single to complete the Trinex fight. It's time, everyone, for the GT Big Key guessing game. Get your guesses in chat. This is not an official game, because we don't do that for SMZ3, but it's fun to guess anyway. And look at both our runners getting a crystal at the same time. The synchronicity, everyone. It's delightful. And given the trolley location of the bow this seed, I'm going to guess about an 18 or 19 here. I guess 19. And because I think it will be behind the Armos Knights. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. And Osse, having found a small key in Hope Room, is going to opt to do right side first. Meanwhile, mDiyo appears to be taking a breather to go and finish up Mother Brain and get a G on the board. Osse getting trolled by one of the jellyfish, but takes a moment to line up their second shot and sneaks it by him. And there's the big key in chest number 4, I believe it was. Or is it 3? I believe it was chest 3. And Osse with full mail, sword, and silvers, and SM already completely done. There is quite literally nothing that Osse could find in the rest of Ganon's tower that would provide a noticeable difference in how quickly he clears the game. Going to slay those mimics as quickly as possible. And mDiyo coming down here to check Waterway. Osse getting a nice dash out of that room on the left side. I typically try the right side and typically fail at getting out of their damage list, but that's why Osse is better than me. Osse making their way through Gauntlet pretty handily here. mDiyo climbing back up out of Brinstar. We'll see if they head to Mother Brain now after having checked Waterway. This is something that I should do more often, is when I pick up the speed booster and I have all 4 bosses done, I should check Waterway and do Mother Brain at the same time. And Osse setting up a very nice, absolutely elemental Landmo kill with silvers, and minimizing the lag on the screen as well by getting up very close to them in a riskier strat, but much faster one for sure. Also, Osse appears to have a very nice setup for all of these rooms, again, to minimize the amount of time they spend in their menu. So being forced to use the silvers on the mimics, Osse looks like they have at least a strategy where they can complete all the rest of Gauntlet relatively efficiently without switching to Cane of Samaria, which is usually the favored item for a lot of those rooms in the back half of Gauntlet. But still looking very impressive, and certainly strategies that I have never considered before. Meanwhile, mDiyo making their way through the Metroid rooms. And Osse gonna try and set up a bomb jump here by spinning into Mini Moldworm. To the best of my knowledge, Osse does not hover, but this is his own way of sneaking past this Moldworm fight, and I don't know anyone else who does it. I'm pretty sure Osse discovered it and continues to be one of the only people that does it. It is a treat to see. And I think he trapped one of the mini Helmosaurs on a bumper there. Just a comical amount of craziness going on. And getting a single return fire there. And unfortunately, a blue ball is going to wreck any hopes of a double on the second try. Oh, there's a triple on the third round. One more to go. And Aghanim is down for Osse. Just Ganon to go, everyone. mDiyo getting a nice Zeb skip with the ice beam there. Ganon practicing for their American Idol appearance. And Osse has precisely calculated exactly how many sword swings it takes to kill Ganon, and knows that he does not need to put in any additional effort or put himself in any further danger to defeat Ganon. I don't think Osse has any potions, but it seems unlikely at this point that he will need them with silvers and a full magic bar. Wow, and gonna get a double on Ganon immediately before a torch even goes out. And gonna get a nice hit on Ganon with the sword as well. And that's the last arrow in the coffin of Ganon. Get your GGs in chat for Osse101. And Osse has finished with an official SRL time of... Let's try and find it here. I know he donned. Where'd it go? There it is. 2 hours, 50 minutes, and 10 seconds. And at this time, mDiyo has forfeited from the race as well. GG, Osse. Let's see if we can get them in here for an interview. And it does appear that Osse has accepted an invitation for an interview. GG, Osse.
GG, Sinus. Thanks for commentating this race.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun. There was some really interesting early stuff going on in the seed, and as usual, your absolute machine-like efficiency of checks was pretty crazy. But then there was Thieves Town. We were taking bets all seed on how long you would put off going into Thieves Town without hammer. And it just, it really goes against your strategy, doesn't it, to go in there without the hammer?
Not even. I like to do first 4 every time, just not today. I even had the mirror. Today. Yeah, just not today. Same with the boots at Zora Ledge. I skip Zora often enough. But what happens? The money put me at over 400. So I just kept hoping for a little more. It never came. So that's why I put off boots so long.
Yeah, I noticed you eventually opted for the 100 rupees at Race Game to help you out there. I was also wondering if you were going to potentially opt for a Houlihan to finish that up once you were out of other checks to do. We're also joined at this time by mDiyo. Good race, mDiyo.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was nervous throughout the whole thing, and I'm sure I made a ton of mistakes because of that.
Well, certainly, no randomizer race is perfect, so I wouldn't hold yourself to that kind of standard for sure. And in fact, there were some times where we thought you had a pretty healthy lead because you made some routing decisions early on that led you to a couple more bits of progression, but unfortunately that Sphere Zero Varia really hurt you in the long run.
Yeah, there are some times where I make decisions based on what I have versus what's actually over there, and I usually always go to that particular place because I've skipped it and it has burned me enough times. But I had the book, so I went over to the desert, so I didn't go over there until much later.
Yep. And there was some shenanigans going on there where we thought you might actually be thinking that your logical access to Dark World in your mind may have been through Meridia, based on what you knew about the seed. And I was really crossing my fingers when you came out of that portal that you were going to mirror right to that Ice Rod cave check, and unfortunately was not to be.
I really should have. I usually don't go that way, and having to go from Meridia to the Dark World is a big leap of logic because I almost always go the other way. And
I still think it demonstrates some good game knowledge overall. To be able to use that portal demonstrates that that you have played this randomizer enough times to know that, hey, that can sometimes be the logic chain that you have to take to get through it. Did either of you check Spike Cave by any chance? I missed it if anyone did.
I did not.
Neither did I.
Okay, so based on both of your comprehensive checks, Lamp was either in Spike Cave or it was very deep in Swamp Palace. Those were the only checks that were not done that were still possible at that point, I think. So we were all wondering when that was going to pop up, and it of course never materialized because Fire Rod was plenty to get through the rest of it. Let's see what else happened. One really good kind of heads up play on your part, mDiyo, was doing those heat runs in Norfair, leading you to that Titan's mitt. Really ended up working in your favor. And so, what were your thoughts when you found the Titan's mitt? Did you think about, well, maybe Varia was somewhere and I needed this, or what was going through your mind at the time?
I believe I had just gone through to the Dark World from Meridia and then died. At that point, I was like, I am desperate. I'm probably losing because of this death over here, because I had the whole Dark World access. So I just thought, there's a bunch of items that I can get to, and I should go try to grab every single one of them and see if something opens up something else for me.
So that was after Meridia, so you'd have space jump to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that made your heat run a lot easier, I think. Although there were certainly some times where you were down at 1 health. You actually had a lot of really low health situations throughout the seed. Those big side hoppers made us all really nervous a couple of times.
Yeah, I don't like running around early game with 1 energy tank, or 0 energy tanks.
Yep. And I'm trying to think of some other highlights from Osse's side, other than just your...
Well, related to my question, like I didn't have a way into Upper Norfair, so I did the ball boost off of the Sova in Pre-Cathedral.
I think you had Ice Beam at the time, did you not? Or did that come a little later?
I did it? I don't remember. Either way.
I think you did have logical access to it via Ice Beam, but I'd have to go back and look too. But the real hallmark of your strategy that is really amazing for me to watch is, I think it's your incredible patience with the seed, right? So you, like, when a check is not efficient for you, you tend to leave it until later. And there were 2 heads-up times where I saw that was potentially really good for you and it saved you time. One was at Criteria Power Bombs, right, which you could have used the Morph Bombs to get up to as soon as you had them. But instead, you kind of held off until you had Space Jump and Speed Booster and got to it a lot quicker. The other one that I can think of is picking up one of your progressive swords at the library. You knew that you were eventually going to come back there, and you were so comfortable and confident in your gameplay with just a single sword upgrade that you're like, I'll just loop that in when I get around to it in Village of Outcasts because I've got the mirror. And I think that is just... to be able to keep the nerves and to not chase those things immediately is really a hallmark of a really good player, and that's really impressive to me.
Yeah, swords, I don't feel you really need to rush to them unless you're going for like boss kills and Turtle Rock. They don't save a whole lot of time. Plus, doing it this way, I got to show off the frog door trick, which is from all dungeons, where you mirror like on the rock next to the frog, and puts you in the library, and then you don't have to pick up the rock to talk to the frog.
There were a lot of cool tricks throughout that race. Unfortunately, we didn't, because of the location of Kane, we didn't really get to see Icebreaker or Diver Down or anything like that. And it was an interesting thought. So I don't... Did you leave any other checks other than Spike Cave behind, Osse?
Yeah, I think those are the only ones. Like, I did first chest at Swamp. So it's just the rest of Swamp and Spike Cave.
Oh, that's right. So we were kind of playing around with the idea that you may have actually been in go mode before you got the cane, if that was the only possible location that you had left, which would be a pretty unusual outcome for an SMZ3 seed. But does anyone else have any final thoughts about the seed?
this particular style of seed, my thought process for picking where to go next is kind of erratic and it's hard to describe. This one works very much against the way I like to play the game.
Yeah, I do applaud you for having the guts to knock out Cold Stare and piece out of there to try and make up some time. And I think that speaks to a general strategy about how you play your opponent and knowing how your opponent plays. Sometimes you have to make those sacrifices if you think you're behind in the seed. But you definitely found a lot of items early on that put you in a good position. And I think when you watch this back, you'll find a lot of different ways to capitalize on those in the future. Any final thoughts there, Osse?
Yeah, I think on my side, I got lucky with my sequence breaks. They kept paying off. But then the items I missed were partially because I was trying to full clear the whole seed. And that really cost me. So I felt like I could have gotten a much better time on the seed, like especially if I got that hammer sooner.
Yeah, and then the ice rod immediately following it was just an extra slap in the face.
Ice rod in the big chest, so
yeah.
It's right to be careful, right?
Yep, I agree. But with that, everyone, I think we are going to close up this episode. GG again to Osse, and a very nicely played seed overall by both of you. We'll see you next time, everyone. Please follow the runners and check out our commentators. I'm Sinus, and thank you again, Sandres, for tracking for the 4th time in 48 hours. We really appreciate it. Have a good one, everyone.